fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Over the years, Central Texas has caught my attention. You got your big cities, like Austin, your small ones, like Fredericksburg, the ones that stand in the middle, like Waco, and everything in between. Central Texas is connected by veins, known as country roads. You can go through miles and miles of country roads, up and down hills, through wooded areas. It's fascinating. At night, I love to drive through them. And kids, don't try this at home. At night, I turn off my headlights and drive. No, not really. With the stars, and once in a while, the moon shining on, you start seeing things among those hills. They do have eyes. And what Central Texas hides is deeper, beyond the country roads, among the small towns. It's lingering and haunting heart of the Lone Star State. Your age defines where you'll visit in Austin. The historic town is surrounded by people of all ages. Nestled in downtown Austin, you'll get a taste of its history. And if you happen to get curious for the dark side of Austin, you'll sign up to a ghost tour, which I did. Way before I even went on the ghost tour, there's one historic building that has always fascinated me, the Driscoll Hotel. We'll explore the history of the Driscoll Hotel and other reported haunted locations around Central Texas. September of last year, I went to Austin to check out one of my favorite bands, Bad Omens. It was an amazing concert and overall experience. That same night, I embarked on a ghost tour with friends. It was actually another haunted pub crawl. So before the tour started, I grabbed a drink to loosen my nerves. After about 30 minutes, my friends and I were on our way to our first destination, guided by the host alongside other fellow Austinites. Our first location was a spooky one, the Driscoll Hotel. And this is where our first stop begins. The Driscoll Hotel has played an important part in all that has taken place in the state capital. In fact, it was to be Austin's first hotel. Built in 1884 by Colonel Lincoln Driscoll, he made his cash raising cattle. To keep it short and sweet, it went through several changes and owners. It's been home to several historic events, and it is said that the Texas Rangers formed the plan at the hotel that would start the end of the legendary bank robbers, Bonnie and Clyde. It was the hub for Texas politics. President LBJ and governors waited for election results there. It's made history in other non-textbook kind of ways. Somewhere along the lines, people started saying that the Driscoll Hotel was one of the most haunted buildings in Austin. One of the ghosts that roams the hotel lives on the 5th floor, which is believed to be a faithful employee who continues to live there years after their death. another ghost became somewhat famous, immortalized in a 1992 song by Concrete Blonde. The song is titled Ghosts of the Texas Ladiesmen. The lead singer wrote it after she encountered her room light was flickering and sounds were coming from her room. The singer confronting whatever was in the room. One of my favorite stories, and this one I remembered because of the ghost tour, was that about a little girl. She's seen roaming the hotel. Her story was tragic. During her lifetime, she was playing with her ball in the halls of the hotel, till her ball made its way downstairs into the lounge area. While she was chasing her ball, she accidentally fell down the steps and to her death by breaking her neck. There's a painting of her at the hotel. There's also a painting of Colonel Driscoll himself. And finally, after a few beers, I was about to chug this last story. The story about a woman whose death was so tragic she continues to haunt and traumatize guests today. It was reported back in the 1900s, a Houston woman fled to Austin after her fiance called off the wedding. She took his credit cards and maxed them out while on a shopping spree. She later booked the room at the Driscoll, room 525. She sat in the bathtub, put a pillow in one head and a gun in the other, and shot herself. Since then, guests claim to see a woman carrying packages, or maybe shopping bags, down the halls of the hotel, alongside a gun in her hand. Sometimes she's seen weeping and disappearing into room 525. Others hear the sounds of her crying. That story creeps me out. So if you're looking for a thrill in Austin, more than Rainy or 6th Street, muster up the courage and stay at the Driscoll Hotel. It's a bit pricey, but the frights are worth the price. And now, our special guest.
Hey Gouliacs, this is Rob Cortez, and in this episode we have a special guest.
Yeah, my name is Derek Spence, and I am the owner of Haunted Fredericksburg Ghost Walk, located in Fredericksburg, Texas, and we've been here since 2018. And we started in 2018, but it took about 10 years 10 years to get the tour going because there were so many stories that had to be compiled. All of the information has to be compiled over time. It's kind of like writing a book, put together a ghost tour. Anyway, I'm a pretty good expert on anything Fredericksburg history-wise.
Like a historian.
Yeah, I'm an amateur historian for sure. I don't have a degree in history, but I've always loved history. So,
awesome.
But the history with the ghost stories is it's a very difficult task, but it's rewarding.
It's very vital to know.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you're telling stories. Yeah, what's the backstory?
Yes.
Why is this place haunted? Yeah, it's very important.
Definitely. When was Haunted Fredericksburg Ghost Walk established?
Well, 2018, and then of course, COVID hit 2020, which put us out of business for a while. So we stopped for 2 or 3 months. So it was March. Yeah, March of 2020 is when COVID hit. So we probably were down for about 2 months until June or so, and we started picking back up again. And then it just kind of went crazy from there. As far as the idea for the ghost tour, probably started, that would have been somewhere around 2010. I'd always had the idea of putting together a history tour downtown, but there aren't too many people that are really interested in taking a history tour. But if you pair that with some really good ghost stories and actually some investigation, you can relay that history to folks in a way that is interesting and entertaining. Anyway, yeah, that's about 2010, but we officially opened in 2018. So it really was 8 years of work off and on, putting it together, ratting it out. And we're still not through. I mean, we haven't even started on the West End tour yet. So we're just on the East End still as of right now. Mm-hmm.
All right. And what influenced you to start Haunted Fredericksburg Ghost Walk?
The fact that I love history, and I've had some paranormal experiences in my past. I'm just trying to think. I've had a couple of recently, but some very vivid. I lived in Tennessee back in the 1990s and worked in an old mansion there as a tour guide. I was a musician, so I played lead guitar in a couple of bands that were on the road. But during my off time, I would give tours at this old mansion there, and the place was notoriously haunted. And it's a place called Traveler's Rest. It's right outside of Franklin, Tennessee, real close to Nashville. And when I started the job there and learned the history of the place, everybody told me, "Man, this place is haunted." And I was like, okay, whatever. But it was built. That place is built on an Indian burial ground. This old house built in 1797. Even while I was there, they were doing some digging around there, and they were digging up bones of some ancient indigenous folks that were buried there. So a couple of times I was given a tour and had some things happen. One was while I was under some renovation, there was a closed door in front of me. I was going to walk through it with this tour, and for some reason it looked like how when you're driving down the road when it's a hot summer day and you see like the heat waves in the coming up, and for some reason that door being closed, there was like this heat wave looking thing in front of it. It was real, and it blurred the door, and we all stopped. This was with the group. It was like, do y'all see that? And everybody's like, yeah, is there a heater on? Is there a heater vent there or something? Because they all thought it was a heater vent. I was like, no, I don't think there is. And so we kept walking toward it, and as we got closer, it just kind of faded away and then went away, went through the door, and then a door upstairs slammed shut so hard that you could hear it's those old metal doorknobs. You could hear it rattle in the hinge, just And it was like, okay, is there somebody following us? Went upstairs, all the doors are open. That was one of the first times, but I've always been interested. I guess that was the time when I was interested in paranormal activity, that sort of thing. But I'm a lover of history, and I do think the two obviously intertwine.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we've been here in Fredericksburg, my wife and I and kids. We've been here since 1999, and over those years, for different stories downtown. Basically, the entire town of Fredericksburg is built again on a burial ground, because when the Germans got here in 1846, they realized, wow, this looks like a really good place to build a town. Well, guess what? The indigenous people that lived here for 3,000, 5,000 years prior to that thought the same thing. They just weren't here at the time. So a lot of their dead are buried there. And then, anyways, I love history and telling stories. So I guess I'm a storyteller.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have that thing in common.
Probably more info than you wanted, but there it is.
That's good. Could you share a personal paranormal experience with our listeners?
Yeah. So besides that one I just told you, that was a minor one. When I started the tour in 2018, I started it pretty much as a kind of a semi-skeptic. I'd had some things happen. Since the tour started in 2018, we've given the tour to somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people, and everybody's taking photos and taking video, and they send me things sometimes that just are unexplainable. But as far as personal goes, I will say that I think it was 2015 or 2016, my wife and I were coming home late at night with our kids in the car, and it was February President's Day weekend. I do remember that because the kids were out of school on Monday, and it was cold. It was like 38 degrees. We were driving in from Llano. It was foggy, rainy, drizzly, 38 degrees. I remember driving up thinking, as I'm driving that 40 miles, thinking, I shouldn't be driving tonight. It's 11 o'clock at night. We should be home. It was dangerous. And so get in town and take kind of a shortcut behind the Admiral Nimitz Museum. And that's also the main drag going to the cemetery in town. And as I pull up to this intersection, there's a stop sign there. Again, it's 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday night. Fredericksburg is a tourist town, but on Sunday night, it's dead, especially in the winter. And so there was no one out. It was real foggy and cold and rainy, misty. And I pulled up to the stop sign, and I see two little kids sitting on the corner on the curb. They're underneath the street light. It's shining down on them, but I can see them. It's a boy and a girl, and they're kind of looking toward me. And the little boy like pushes the little girl, and she pushes him back, and he bends over and laughs. And they're just kind of goosing each other and playing along. And they look perfectly normal and happy. But as a parent, I'm thinking, they're the only two kids out here. And I want to say they're little kids. They're 4 or 5 years old. These are small kids. Their feet weren't touching the ground. They were kicking their feet. It was a higher curb. It's probably a foot high, but their feet weren't touching the ground. And so I stopped, and then we're at this corner, and there's a big wall behind them, and I can't see past the wall. So I'm assuming as I pull up to that stop sign that their parents must be on the other side of that wall. And so as I pull through the intersection, I look up at the street, and there's no one there. So I stop. The two little kids are still sitting there. My wife is asleep in the passenger seat, and I say, Heidi, do you see those kids? She kind of opens her eyes and she looks, and the first thing out of her mouth is, yeah, where are their parents? Because I'm telling you, there was no one out there that night. It was dead. This is not on Main Street. This is on a side street. And it's still a commercial street that's on one block off of Main. And I'm like, yeah, where are their parents? It's odd. And so I just did a U-turn in the intersection, turned around, shined my headlights right where they were sitting, and they were gone. Got out of the car because I'm starting to think, and I got my kids in the car. I'm thinking, okay, are they scared? Did they run off? I got out. I mean, there is nowhere they could have gone that I wouldn't have seen where they went. And it shook me up so bad. I'm like, I got my flashlight out, checked the trees, and I'm thinking they climbed a tree. And I was like, should I call the police? I mean, I was asking my wife, should I call the police? I mean, where'd they go? Were they abandoned? That was my fears. They had been abandoned.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what are you going to tell them? And we saw two kids that aren't here anymore. I mean, and she's right. And to this day, neither one of us have an explanation. I will say they did not look as you would think an apparition would look, kind of see-through. They were silhouetted, I'll say that, because I couldn't make out their face because there was a street light behind them that kind of silhouetted them. But I could make out their shape. They were definitely there. We both saw them. But I couldn't make out any facial features. I could tell the girl had long hair in braids, and the boy had a kind of a burr haircut. But as far as facial features, I couldn't really tell. I could tell that the boy was laughing at one point, bent over laughing. Yeah, that shook me up. And to this day, I still, when I give the tour, I still will tell that story sometimes because I have no explanation for that. I mean, the thing about it that struck me was they looked perfectly content and happy. They were just completely out of place. They should not have been there on a cold winter night with it being 38 degrees and foggy and rainy, and they're 5 years old or so and out there by themselves.
It was really odd.
Yeah. Very off. Yeah. That's one of my personal stories. It's probably the most intense one.
Yeah, that sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
I've heard of those type of legends about the kids with the glowing eyes, like around.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Fredericksburg. If you get online and look up, if you Google ghost children in Fredericksburg, Texas, you'll see those stories. I've never seen the ghost eyes. There's some people that have posted some videos driving down Main Street of what looks like children on the side of the, I don't know if you can find it on YouTube or what, but on the curb that do look odd. But it looks so odd that you think, okay, well, that could be a cat too. But it's kind of hard to tell.
Any haunted areas around Fredericksburg that you would like to share with us?
They're all haunted.
Yeah.
Every store. So if you ever come to Main Street, Fredericksburg, every store in Fredericksburg on the main drag has some sort of paranormal activity, whether it's lights turning on at night or clothes being moved around, furniture being moved around. That's another one. One of the spots that's, I mean, there are a lot, but of course we go to the old jail. Our tour goes to the old 1885 jail. It was built in 1885 and closed in 1939, and it was closed for 70 years until they opened it up to put some furniture and stuff in, and then we rented it from the county. As we've given tours there over the past 3 years, it's definitely increased in activity. I don't know if it's the bringing people in there or what, but we get some really crazy pictures and video from the old jail. One of them, it's on our website. I was standing right next to the guy. He got took a photo of one of the jail cells, and there's a blue light in the corner of the jail. This looks like a blue light, but as you zoom in closer and closer, you can tell it's an eyeball. It is just a suspended eyeball in the shadow of the cell. It's crazy. One of the craziest photos. But we've got several. Another spot is the old Elks, which is the Elk Store Distillery now, but it used to be the Shatter Brothers Funeral Home, and it was that from 1868 until 1938, I think is what the year was. And that's where they were undertakers. So in those days, they would lay the body out in that building and then build the casket around the body, because they didn't want to waste wood. Each casket was pretty much custom made. And so, there were many corpses laid out there, and thousands. It was up until about 2012. It was notoriously haunted, and in 2012, the owner had an exorcism or cleansing. He calls it it's probably a cleansing done by a bishop, and it helped. But he was having things happen like he'd go in the morning, the furniture would be moved around. I mean, crazy stuff. And he'd hear voices at night. I lost you for a second.
Any demonic activity at this funeral home?
I don't know if you call it demonic, because it wasn't. I mean, maybe so, but it was more, I would say, almost poltergeist type activity.
Oh, okay, poltergeist.
Because it was more physical. There was one night he was in there, and he had some French doors behind the bar, and he got to where he could say things, and one night he swears that some men were at the bar and they're talking about being haunted, this place, and he says, "Well, let's see." Said, "Spirits, close the doors." And these French doors behind him closed, and the guys at the bar were like, "Okay, you've got some sort of contraption back there." And he was like, "No, I swear I don't." So they went back there and looked. No. And they said, "Well, see if they'll open them up again." And he said, "Spirits, open the doors," and they opened it up on their own. That's a story he tells. I wasn't there for it, but it's a pretty good story. Yeah.
Nice.
And there's many more, but those are the main two, I would say.
Last year I went to the Fredericksburg Ghost Walk tour.
That's right, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I went, but you mentioned that this year you guys the jailhouse, right? The prison.
That place is scary.
Yeah, hopefully I can go back there and check that part out for sure.
It's it depends on what night you go, but some nights it's so heavy. And I went into this kind of as a skeptic, really, with the jail, but
okay.
Over the time we've been given the tour in the jail, there's definitely something going on in there, because you go in there some nights it feels fine, and then other nights it's like you're waiting for someone to push you down the stairs. You can feel it. There's an oppressiveness. We've had people coming out of there that throw up some nights not because they've been drinking, because they just feel this oppressiveness that makes them sick. Occasionally we get some very sensitive people that feel things, And we've also got, one of the craziest videos, and I need to repost it on our Facebook page. There is a head of a woman, looks like a woman, it could be a guy, I guess. It's coming out of the floor, like in one of the cells. There's just a head. It's not like a body. It's just the head coming out of the floor, and it's got like this red light around the bottom of it. And this person that videoed it sent it to me, and there was no one with them at the time. And they sent him to me the same night. It's unexplainable. It's like this weird head is coming up out of the cement of this jail cell. It's the craziest thing. Yeah, I need to repost that one. I need to find that one.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm so bad with social media. We've got some really good stuff, but I don't know if I'm lazy or just too old. Got some really good videos, and I could probably send them to Coast AM, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that's crazy!" Or send them to Ghost Hunters or whatever. But I'm not, as you could probably tell, not too keen on technology.
You'll get there, Derek.
I'll get there. Yeah, thanks.
And what do you have planned for the month of October?
We're offering some tours like during the week, private tours during the week. Every weekend, of course, we're doing 2 tours Friday night, 2 tours Saturday night, 1 tour Sunday night. People can call or get on our website, hauntedfredericksburg.com, email us or whatever, and they can book a private tour if they'd like to. Thought about doing a more of a, because the jail tour is more of an investigation, but it's an individual investigation. So in the month of October, you're welcome to bring along any and all equipment you'd like to bring. Go in there and spend 30 minutes or whatever you want to do, if you really want to get into it, because it helps us too, because people to get photographs or the frequency, what do they call it, Frank's box, or what's it called now, frequency scanners. It helps us to put that on our Facebook page, put that on social media, and so people are welcome to come and do that any weekend. For the jail tour, with the ghost tour and the jail tour, it's $32 a person. The way that works, the jail is owned by the county and the historical society, so we pay them for the use of it, and they allow us to go in there on the weekends. Yeah, and it's kind of odd too. I've noticed that as the weather kind of cools off a little bit, it seems to be more active. Yeah, even up through January and February, the cool weather, I don't know if it's frequency or what it is, barometric pressure, but we seem to get more activity in the cooler months.
I tell you, I would love to be up there right now.
Come on, man.
It's 80, 90 degrees down here, man.
Oh, it's not, when I say it's cool, it's like 88 degrees today. It was warm.
Yeah, but in the mornings, it feels really nice.
Oh, great in the mornings. Yeah.
Over here, it's still 80, 90 degrees.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
So I'm just waiting for that. What do you want to tell skeptics about the paranormal?
I would say to keep an open mind about it, because there's definitely something going on. I mean, come on, this is going on for millennia. But even the Bible talks about it. Do I believe in demonic spirits? Absolutely, I do. I think I'm probably affected by them I think we all are affected by them every day. What we see and contemplate as ghosts, I don't know if it's spiritual or if it, because you watch these TV shows, this and that, they see an apparition and they think, oh, it's a spirit. Well, I'm not sure that it's a spirit. Maybe it's just like the frequency is right to reenact something that happened in that building 200 years ago. I mean, I don't know what they are. I do know that they are there, and if the conditions are right, and there's so many things that we don't even realize. You can get into quantum theory and all that stuff. What is an apparition? Is it a spirit? Well, I'm not sure that it necessarily is. It may be a frequency. If you're driving down the road at night on AM radio, you may pick up a radio station for a little while out of Canada. Well, that's kind of weird, but it's nighttime, the sun's down, that frequency comes over your radio station out of the blue, for 30 seconds or so, and then it fades off again. maybe it's the same thing with what we're seeing. I mean, that's just a theory, and that's why I say just be open to it. It may not be a spirit. Maybe it's just the mirage that's replaying itself over and over again. We just assume they're spirits. I don't know. I try to keep an open mind to it. Anyway, that's what I would say.
It's great. Great answer. Great answer.
Thanks. I should have done this from the jail. I mean, I mentioned that earlier, and I thought,
Yeah. I remember you saying
that there's so many. It's October. If there's so many people in town, I don't know that the data would have worked.
that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's like 50,000 people in town this weekend. It's crazy.
Wow.
All right, go on.
Oktoberfest or what?
What's that?
For Oktoberfest?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's like one of the busiest weekends of the year.
Yeah.
Not the
That was the very first time I went to Fredericksburg was for that. So
Yeah. We're getting a lot of business from it. It's good. So,
but yeah,
cool.
thank you so much, Dirk.
If you need anything else, holler at me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, whenever I'm up there again, I'll definitely
You've got my number. Text me. I'll get you on a tour anytime.
Oh, thank you so much, Dirk.
All right, man. Take care of yourself.
Take care of yourself. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks.
I know big cities have big stories, but I'm a fan of small towns. Just an hour south of Austin is Seguin, Texas. There, the Magnolia Hotel is located. It started as a 2-room log cabin that was built in 1840 by former Texas Ranger James Campbell. Campbell and others fought against the Mexican Army and the Comanches for Texas independence. He had a huge basement built under the log cabin that was used as a jail. This jail ended up being one of the worst jails in all of Texas. After he was involved in a bloody battle against the Comanches seeked revenge and brutally murdered Campbell. He was stabbed 27 times, scalped, robbed of his horse, and left for dead. His fellow Texas Rangers found his mutilated body and buried him in an unmarked grave near the cabin. In the span of 30 years, the Magnolia Hotel was hosted to multiple owners, historical events, hotel expansions, and to guests who have checked in and never checked out. Today, the hotel is owned by both Aaron Wallace Getty and Jim Getty, and they have grown to coexist with the numerous spirits that still reside within the building's walls. It has also been sought out by paranormal researchers, investigators, and TV shows. Among those TV shows are Travel Channel's own Ghost Adventures Aftershock, and my personal favorite, Watcher's Ghost Files. So if you're ever in the area, head over to Seguin Brewing Company for some courage juice and book a night at the Magnolia Hotel, where you can ring up a thrill or a chill. Texas is a big place. As we travel to the northeast of Texas, then to the bayou, remember that in every corner, there's a story to be told. It's just a matter of whether the tale is dipped in darkness or not. Let's keep this haunted hayride going. Stay tuned for episode 4.
Bye.